In this video, I want to talk to you about a very, very important task whenever you engage in a research project, and that is the development of your thesis. Actually, the articulation of your thesis, expressing it, writing it down. And I want to, for our purposes here, advise you to follow some basic rules. And one of the very first rule is, and it's going to sound somewhat artificial, but there's a reason behind it. Write out your thesis in one sentence. Make sure it has a subject and a verb, and in other words, a subject and a predicate. So say something about the thing you're researching. Now remember, a thesis is a claim. It's an observation. It's your point that you're going to try to prove or support with all this data and this evidence and this thinking and this logic that you're putting together in a ball, sort of, or in a paper, and you're organizing it, because eventually when you know your readers work their way through your data and your information and your organization and your logic and your reasoning, they will begin to understand that one point you're trying to make. So a thesis has that sort of unity, and a paper that is written well will revolve around this one claim it's trying to prove. Now your job is not to prove it with your thesis. You hope that happens, but it's not like math. It's not like some science experiment. You should always hope that your thesis becomes viewed by your audience as being possible, and it's great with your data and your logic if you get them to realize that it's probable. Okay, but don't consider it a failure if at the end of your research work people still do not believe your thesis. That's a hard thing to do. But a thesis, again, is a claim. It's an it could be an observation about something. The claim doesn't have to be ground shaking. It just has to be a statement that is once it's expressed, people can realize, okay, it's saying something about something, and in itself, it's either true or false. Okay. Now, a thesis in that way cannot be a question. A thesis is not a question. In fact, if you want to try to think of that one guiding question that might show how you framed and followed out your research, your thesis is the answer to the question. Okay? But a thesis cannot be expressed or articulated as a question, a genuine question. And a thesis is not a topic statement like this. My topic is on bumper stickers, communication, non-linear interruptive communication, as seen in bumper stickers. Oh wait, that was just a topic. You didn't really say anything about it. You didn't say what you thought, your ultimate conclusion about it. Okay, so the thesis has to be a sentence. It has to be able to be written as one sentence that's actually saying something about something, and which people can look at it and say true or not true. Or, well, at least in theory, they recognize the statement as such that it is either true or not true. Now, they might not know at that point because they don't have the data you have, but they recognize it as being such a statement. Because your paper is to be unified around this point, this idea that you have. The idea itself has to be one. And because of that, I say yes, as elementary as it seems, the thesis can be written as one sentence. Now, when you actually come to write the thing, you could expand it. You can write it in 2 or 3 sentences, but in theory, you should always be able to actually have it come down to one sentence. Okay. Now, the second thing you need a good academic thesis is going to have is it's going to actually be something no one else has ever said. Okay, or written about, and taking it on as their main point to prove in their writing. So, although many people may have come close, they have not actually thought or held on to the belief or the observation or the advice that you have. Yours differs somehow in some way. It could be a very small way. It could be a very large difference. It could be earth-shaking. It could be quiet and small, but it does have to be uniquely yours. All right, so you have to be able at the end of the day to say, I read a lot of work, I read a lot of people's ideas, I read a lot of information, but I didn't find someone who's actually saying what I'm going to say. So my paper is going to be unique in that sense. All right. So this is a very hard thing to do, and we as teachers understand you're not going to have 2 years to read everything that was published on your topic, but in good faith with what you did read. And part of the job of a teacher is to make sure you've read quite a bit. Did you ever run across someone who tried to prove the very same thing you're proving? If you did, you can't use that thesis. That thesis has already been done. It has no professional viability. It doesn't live beyond the classroom. And if it doesn't live beyond the classroom, why bother teaching it? Then we're treating school as an end in itself, when really it should be a means towards a deeper thinking habits. So, and more solidly grounded professional work. So, no one yet should have written exactly what you're going to write about your point. All right. So I still run across these crazy theses, and I don't necessarily stop the student, because I sense the student is doing it in good faith and just trying to get through the class, and they've done so much work. I don't want to stop them on that, but really to try to say to me, smoking causes lung cancer, or if you smoke, a lifelong smoker has a much higher chance of contracting cancer or developing lung cancer than non-smokers. I'm thinking, no, that has already been supported. You've got to give it up, because that's just a general statement of a multiplicity of voices out there, a couple of voices, major voices that support that hold that idea. So you've got to somehow be more original than that, much more original. Okay, so you got to be able to say to yourself, look, no one else has made this observation, or no one else has tried to prove this as this particular thing. All right. So that's the second thing. Now the third thing is your thesis has to. So I'm giving you like classic signs that a good thesis has. One, it can be one sentence that in theory can be true or false. People recognize it as that type of sentence, a declarative sentence, not just a topic statement. Now, the second thing is it has to be unique to you. It really does. The third thing is it has to be complicated enough so that it's research worthy. All right. In other words, it can't be so obvious that people who hear it for the first time and who haven't done the reading you've done, who haven't done the thinking you've done, automatically say, well, yeah, I guess so. Okay. Because so here's a thesis that is not research worthy. Cell phones, using a cell phone while driving increases your chance of having an accident. Now, I didn't say they cause accidents. I say they increase the chance. Isn't that self-evident? I mean, combing your hair while you drive increases your chance at having an accident, because you're taking... I mean, if you assume that your best chance for not having an accident is being alert, watching the road, watching the sides, and having both hands on the wheel, and just focusing on that, then anything, changing the radio station, cleaning up the back seat, combing your hair, putting on your lipstick, whatever, all of that decreases your chance of not having an accident. So, doing that increases your chance of having an accident. So to say cell phone does that, that's not, no one needs research to see the logic behind that. Okay, here's another one. Video games, right? Violent video games. How about this thesis? The violence in a video game indicates that there is violence in the user, latent violence in the user. And the fact that video game, now I'm giving you a double thesis, so let's just, here's the thesis, a single thesis. The fact that video games in America are in such demand indicates that the American culture resonates with violence. You see how that was one statement? And, in all the reading I've done, I've not seen someone try to argue that. But is it research worthy? No, because I think I can kind of establish that in one paragraph. Listen, let me ask you something. When people play video games, do they play it as entertainment or part of their job? Or do they have to play? This is required. Like, they take a course or they have to play video games. No, when people spend money and spend time playing video games, it's for entertainment. So that which is done for entertainment is done on a person's own volition because the person enjoys it. I have yet to meet someone who, for entertainment, does stuff he truly or she truly hates. So if it's done for entertainment, there is automatically some element in it that resonates with you. Right? Because the issue is, would you ever do something, if you're not forced to do it, in entertainment, as entertainment, would you ever do something you particularly hate to do? Or you just derive no satisfaction or enjoyment from doing? No? Well then, if you play violent video games in entertainment, there must be something in there you like. So I established that just by common logic. And I don't need research for that. So you need to make sure your thesis is research worthy. It's complicated enough where people say, well, wait a minute now. I hear what you're saying, but I'm not ready to say yes or no to that. I need more facts. I need you to explain stuff. I need you to define your terms. I need you to give me examples. I need you to walk me through your reasoning process, because I don't really understand how that can be. All right. So these are 3 basic things that you should be able to see your thesis have. And if I ask you to look at a thesis and you can recognize, oh wait, that's kind of self-evident, or wait, that's got to have been done already, or no, that's a question, or that's not saying anything about anything. Then, if you can start recognizing those things, you're well on your way to writing a good thesis statement.